In the world today, there are many different tensions, many different difficulties with political tensions, aggressive leaders, men desiring power and to conquer territories in the name of patriarchy, as it has been in the past millennium. There is also the threat of the destruction of the planet, of the atmosphere, leading to an inhospitable environment for living beings. There are the issues of race, war, nationalism. Beneath it all, there is a spiritual problem. A lack of human engagement with the love which binds all beings together as one. The problems of today stem from human greed, fear, and aggression. These are the source of the issues that face humanity. And this greed, aggression, and fear are a result, a direct result of a lack of sufficient communion with the divine nature of all existence, a lack of connection to the infinite. That lack of connection to the infinite breeds fear. Fear breeds aggression. The survival instincts of human beings are alerted, but they are alerted on the primal individual level, so that rather than creating survival in the collective of society today, they create the very opposite. When one does not feel safe, when fear is there, there is both aggression and the need to acquire. Greed comes into play. The desire for power to make yourself and your group safe. And in such times when the world is unstable, when there is real division between the light and the dark, polarization occurs. People become polarized between these two forces. Those forces which follow the path of greed, fear, power, and aggression, and those forces which want to bring harmony, love, connectedness, and care for the overall welfare of all into existence on this planet. They are at odds with each other, and they are polarizing people. So today's problems have originated in the spiritual realm. They are spiritual problems. As materialism has reached its apex, it has caused a dearth of spiritual connectedness. Buy more toothpaste to whiten your teeth. Get this type of sweater. Get that type of car. Own this type of house. This is who you are. This material thinking has brought humanity away from spirituality. And the age of materialism is at its end, its closing. But in this close, there is turmoil and difficulty. And today's world is a global world. We are one world, one humanity, with many cultures, many indigenous traditions, but we are truly one world, one humanity. There is no duality in it. But there is a lack of recognition of this fact in the operation of nations. Nations are banding together in groups. The European Union, the NATO bloc, the alliances of the Russian bloc, they are banding together in groups, but they have yet to band together as one group to solve the problems of this planet. And so now, because of this banding together in groups, but not unifying, there is this threat to the global order. There is a threat when a man of aggressive nature begins to assert himself and has acquired monumental power. This is part of what unfolds at this time. There is no point going into what type of disasters will come, but it is certain that disasters will come until humanity awakens from this spiritual slumber and recognizes its connection to the infinite whole, and thus uniting in intention of the preservation of all beings and the welfare of all beings. In that intention, wholeness will breed healing to this planet. And it is my firm knowing that an age will come where humanity will be united. There will be no war. The barbarism of war will be seen as a thing, an atrocity of the past, where human beings will live in harmony with other beings upon this world. And the world itself, the natural order of the world, will grow and thrive. This is the future. But this future cannot be achieved without a fundamental change in the way people relate to each other and to their divine connection. When more and more of the light of the infinite shines into this world, when human beings turn again their hearts and minds to the divine, then much of what you see today will pass. And this new age, this new era will arise. There is a change occurring, a shift from the age of materialism, the Vaishyan age, to the age of order and harmony, the Kshatriyan age. In the middle is the revolution and the upheaval of the Shudra age. It is short, it will not last, but it is difficult, and you are in the throes of it. The solutions to today's problems do not lie in leaders. They lie in each and every person, finding their truth, their connection to the divine, and bringing that light into the world, bringing that love into the world, bringing that change into the world. So do not think that you are powerless and helpless in this. You have this capacity to assist through your meditation and through any actions you can do in this time, in this world, to facilitate this change. It is a fundamental change that humanity must undergo. There must be the sacrifice of personal gain and power for collective good and welfare. For those of the capitalist bent and of the material age of the Vaishyan era, the age of the materialists, this is difficult. It is not the approach, but through connecting to the God source within, in the different ways of the different religions and the different traditions, the peace and love and surrender can be found. And in that, the way to bring human beings back to their source and in harmony with the world they live in and with each other. Many, many people are moving in this direction. When the televised happenings in the Ukraine came forward, many felt as if this is a barbaric actions of the past that do not fit with our world today. And they felt that because it is true. The challenge is how to bring humanity in one umbrella, not two, not three, not five, not 10, one umbrella, with the goal of the welfare of all beings and connection to spirituality, to that which uplifts the human spirit and brings it towards the infinite, that all beings may live in peace and harmony, that all beings might be able to enjoy life and to grow and develop and find happiness. You are not powerless, you are not helpless at this time. But remember, the real problem has a spiritual source to it. Work on that problem. That needs work. From the love in the heart, human beings will find their way. From the connection they have to the whole, they will begin to love the whole more than their personal comfort, more than their personal prosperity, more than their personal acquisition. They will love to see all living beings, all life thriving. There are many who work for this today, throughout the world, in all ways, including political. Do not think that everyone is corrupt. Do not think there are no good intentions. But there are those who have been subverted as well into power, greed, and the lust for personal acquisition. You will know them by their actions. Stand in the light. Do all you can in all ways that you can. And never feel downhearted, no matter how challenging the situation is. All right? Are there any questions? Yes.
I have a question. So my question is, in a place where there's a lot of fear, people want some security. So now we've spending trillions of dollars around the world every year for military. How should we organize security affairs to be something held in common for all humanity? Because nobody represents all humanity. And how will we have enough force to bring peace and to resolve, to curb malicious actors. On a global
NATO is the first role model. It is not quite as it should be, but it is the first role model. From there, the joining of more and more nations into one block until all are joined into one block. Then that one block governs. Any who step outside will need to end into behaviors that are against the welfare of humanity at large will find themselves held responsible. Do you see?
Yes, but my follow-up question then is, people are united by the idea that borders can be changed. So one of the principles is that if people want to change a border through war, that this is now unacceptable.
Yes.
You have screwy borders that were drawn by the like the British in creating Iraq, Iran, and or the borders that the colonial powers created in Africa, where tribes are and tribal lands are cut in half, and some belong to one state and the other state. And there was a famous president of one of the African countries gave a speech recently and said, "Our borders are ridiculous, but we're going to live with them forever because the alternative is warfare, and we're not going to resort to that to change borders." So what about borders?
In a new society governed by a council, a collective from all nations, with the force to enforce its actions, that no actors should be outside of its sphere and declare themselves in aggression. They can bring their grievances and their desires to the negotiating table, and they can win through negotiation. Through, for example, one tribe is divided, then through negotiation that tribe may become united again. Lands may still shift and change until they will change more and more to smaller divisions that are local within a larger framework, and the economies will become more locally based. Natural groupings of people through their ethnic origins and their language and their customs and traditions will become honored. But this takes first the power to enforce the rules against war, against aggression. Now there is no power to enforce that. Any leader who wants to rise up in any given area and become an aggressor and is sufficiently talented to put themselves in that position in their own region can aggress against others, and there is no manner to stop them. NATO has formed something that within its alliance that cannot happen. If it happens within the alliance, that needs to be addressed as well as outside of the alliance. The alliance should grow to include all who want to be a part, including China, including Russia, but under certain serious rules that are enforced for members. Yes? This will happen out of necessity and today's warning of things that the world has thought were unthinkable would never happen. It is waking people up to these realizations and this need. But it is only one need. There is a need to be able to set minimum standards for the world, and they to be enforced, that no one can break those standards. This, what happened in Ukraine, is happening in Ukraine, was seen by many as barbaric, but there is no standard to hold anyone to in that way. And so this needs establishment, and there is the awareness in global leaders today of the need for this. Yes? No one wants to go back to how it was. War will be wiped from the surface of this planet, rest assured. But it is not the only issue facing the planet. Greed and dominance, power plays face the planet as the polarization continues. But there is a more important factor. People must come together to live in harmony with the earth. The war she can wage is much harder for anyone to win. This will also happen. But the road to these places is one of necessity. Decisions of necessity. All right?
May I ask one more question, please?
Yes.
You talked about how there will be smaller economically autonomous regions. So, for example, you have a pretty large place in North America, the United States, and there's some pretty rich portions of that place, and there's some rather poor areas where there's not much economic productivity or wealth generated. But because there's a large nation there, the people in the poorer regions receive tremendous economic benefit, and they receive tremendous economic support. And if you break this up, I can see people in certain corners losing a lot. And so my question is about this decentralization.
This is a very, very good point. It is a very good point. You like to eat bananas?
Yeah.
Do they grow in Washington?
No, no.
This is a very good point. Will produce still come from California and Mexico?
I hope so.
It's a one world. We can't deny that. You can have your indigenous cultural identity. You can have your indigenous economy, but the world is united. Fear not. The grace and love of the infinite showers upon this planet, and that shower will not cease. But that grace stirs turmoil. The light illumines the darkness. The love stirs the human heart. That grace will transform the planet. But transformation is not always easy, for ways that have been known and relied upon are fading, must fade, must change, and will change. But the path to change and transformation is not an easy one, that's all. Let that love prevail in your own heart. Bring the light of the infinite into this world.